Get started. So welcome to everyone who's joined us for this session where we're going to be talking about how to use video to engage students in and out of the, importantly, virtual classroom, because we know 2020 and into 2021 has been a bit of a challenge, and the way educators have had to present educational content has changed quite a bit. So we're kind of focusing on the virtual element in this session, but welcome, and we will be recording this session, so if you have to log off at all, don't worry, you'll get the recording afterwards. We'll email it out probably tomorrow morning now, just so you've got that. We also will be having a Q&A at the end of this session, so it runs for half an hour, but we'll save 5 to 10 minutes at the end for Q&A. So if you think of any questions as we go through, you can put them in the question box and we'll come back to them at the end to answer them. So now let's introduce ourselves properly. So my name is Naomi, I'm the Content Marketing Manager here at Sparkle, and I am really excited to be joined by Steve, who is an English teacher and founder of his own channel and content platform, Learn English with Steve, using VideoScribe to create educational videos all about how to learn English. So I know Steve has prepared his own much more in-depth intro, so I won't steal any of that thunder and I'll just hand it straight over to you, Steve.
Hi everybody, I'm really happy to be here. A little nervous today because this is kind of my first online webinar, but I just wanted to introduce a little bit about myself before we get started. So I'm from Canada and currently living in Germany. I have been teaching since 1999. It's been a long, long kind of journey where I wasn't always geared to be a teacher, but it all started in Japan. And ever since then, I just fell in love with it and have continued teaching throughout the years, whether it's part-time or full-time or just as a freelancer. I moved to Germany in 2015, and it was at that point in looking for a job and trying to make income that I decided to found Learn English with Steve, which was basically just my freelance tutoring business. I started with one student once a week, making a very, very low salary. But it blossomed into, as of today, I've taught over 360 students in Germany, and I'm currently working with about 150 of those students. Just a little quote to kind of express how I got in this situation. Lord help us if you ever become a teacher. Sincerely, my 8th grade history teacher in 1995. All right, so with that, I guess we're going to show a little quick video and a little sample of what it is I do.
Definitely, I will just get that up.
All right. So that was my most recent production that I just released only a few days ago. But that's pretty much an accurate sample of what I do. English grammar is not the most interesting topic to talk about, and video and animation is really effective at taking something that might not be that interesting and really making it pop. So why is video and animation so effective for teaching? Because it catches our attention. So right away, a video starts, it's going to catch our attention. And then as we move through the video, it's going to keep it. And this is why video and animation is really great in the classroom, whether it's online or working with your class. It's going to keep our audience engaged. As soon as the video starts, the animation starts, they're tuned in and they're watching. The next point is that the information is more memorable. I'm sure, as most of you can relate to, if you have something animated and interesting going on, you are going to remember that information a lot longer. So it really helps with the retention. Moving on to the next point, boring topics can become interesting topics. Now, again, working with English grammar, any teachers that are here, I'm sure you can relate. If you're bringing in grammar or math or history, um, you'll have those students that are just like, oh, not again. But being able to put it into an animation is a really great way just to get all of the students bought in to what you want to teach them. All right. So with our second topic is how I incorporate video into my lessons. Of course, we all know now that we're in the middle of a pandemic, so we have all of our lessons taking place over Google Meets, Zoom, all of these platforms. So naturally, video gets used in this way, but I also use them in the physical classroom as well. The first place I use them is in the warm-up. This is the first 5-10 minutes of the class. Maybe the students are tired, maybe I'm tired. And a warm-up video is a really great way to break the ice. It's a good way to get everybody's attention, get them smiling, get them laughing, and getting them involved. We can use it to introduce whatever topic we're going to address, whether it's a new topic or we're reviewing a topic from the past. So either way, it works in the warm-up. The second place I use them is mid-lesson. And just from my picture here, that pizza at the end of the string, we use the mid-lesson video as a way to keep people motivated. So usually around mid-lesson, sometimes the students are getting a little bit bored, losing interest. Another video or animation is a great way to capture their attention. So I really use it to maintain their engagement, keep them involved in the lesson, and make it fun. The last part I use animation for would be the quizzes at the end. So quizzes are really where we're going to make sure all of the points made it into their heads and they know what we're talking about. So I use animations and quizzes, and it makes it very interactive, and it doesn't feel like a quiz. So at least in my classes, whether it was in the physical classroom or online, if I say, all right, it's quiz time, my kids, my adults, my teens, even the seniors that I work with, everyone gets really excited because they know it's going to be funny, and we're going to have a lot of fun and a lot of laughs doing it. So the audience really wants to see the outcome of the quiz. They are 100% engaged. The last point that I use videos in my classes for, and the last way that I use them is as a time saver. So for all the educators out there, we all know time is precious. By having the videos, I automatically have a resource that I can give to my students 24/7. So as I said it in the introduction, I'm currently working with just under 150 different students. I get asked questions at all times of the day, 7 days a week, and having a pool of resources that if a student contacts me and says, oh, I'm having a little bit of trouble with gerunds and infinitives, or, oh, Steve, I have a big test on modals coming up next week. Can you help me out? I'm able to send them the link to the video, and within the video, there will be links to all of my other documentation connected to that point. I can send them that direction and tell them to review that material, and if they have any further questions to that, they can get back to me, and it's a win-win because I end up saving a lot of time, and this gives me more time to work with the students who need that extra push.
I think just to jump in there, that's such a great point, Steve, because I think we often think about video as benefiting the students, but also, as you said, there's so many benefits to educators as well. So yeah, reiterating that is super valuable.
All right. The third topic. All right. This is really the core of everything, the process behind the video. Before we get started on this one, I've been working with VideoScribe for just over a year now, and I absolutely love it. But as with any software, any program, there's a bit of a learning curve. And over my time producing videos, I took on several different methods. Some of them took longer than others. Some of them were a complete headache. And in the end, I've basically fallen into this core process that is pretty much broken down into 5 steps. So the first one we can all relate to. This is the lesson plan. Now I know for all the teachers, it's possible to go into a lesson and just wing it. Maybe you were having a bad day or a busy day the day before, and yeah, you just go into your class and just wing it. Unfortunately, when you're creating a video, that's not going to work so much. If you just open up the software and start creating, you're going to find yourself getting lost, not knowing where to go, running out of examples. So it's really important to have that lesson plan. So with the lesson plan, you're going to look at a few things just to get yourself set up. And the first thing is, what is your lesson and what are your goals? So you need to know what the core of the lesson is and where you want it to lead at the end of the lesson. The next thing I'm going to look at is the length of the lesson. This is critical at the beginning to know how long it should take. If it's a quick vocabulary lesson, we can get it done in 2 minutes. All right, that's one thing. But if it's in a more advanced lesson, such as, at least with English grammar, if we're comparing first conditional, second conditional, third conditional, this lesson is going to be a lot longer. So it's good to have an idea of how it's going to be. Next, we're going to look at relevance. And this is really important because you don't want to put too much into the video where students or your audience are getting lost. So if you find yourself getting sidetracked with new information, then you probably need to step back and just make sure that you're at the core of your lesson. The last part of that is that it's easy to follow. So the lesson should have some kind of flow to it, from the beginning through the middle to the end, just an easy path from start to finish. The next stage is the music. I always move into the music next, and I have a few critical reasons for that. Now, it's up to you if you decide to use music. For me as a creator, I have some challenges with using it, and so I've come up with this process to kind of sort those challenges. The first thing, it should be upbeat and motivating. There's a time and a place for Enya. There's a time and a place for Celine Dion. A grammar lesson is not one of them. So you want to make sure it's something upbeat, it's positive, it'll get students motivated. The second thing you want to look at is, does the music tell a story? And now with this, if you can see the GIF at the bottom of the screen, Steve's rocking his head back and forth there. This element was actually used in one of my videos because the music naturally had this point where it sounded a little bit muffled. And I thought, hey, this would be a really good time to show an image of headphones because it looks like somebody's wearing headphones. The next part, is the music appropriate? We all have different tastes in music, so it's important, depending on your audience, that you select music that's universal, everybody can enjoy in some form or another. I have an incredibly eclectic taste in music, but when I'm bringing it into a lesson, I want to make sure it's something universal for all ages, and that it kind of fits the tone that I'm trying to set. Finally, copyrights. This is a big one. Thankfully, VideoScribe has a great selection of music already built into the app, which you never have to worry about any copyright issues with. That being said, if you can't quite find what you're looking for in there, there's a lot of Creative Commons music tracks available online. You just really want to make sure, depending on how you're bringing music into your video, that you pay attention to this. For myself, if I'm putting a video online, I need to make sure there's no copyrights. Otherwise, it's going to be blocked from YouTube. It'll be blocked from Instagram. It'll be blocked from all of my social platforms. And I run the risk of actually losing my channel. So for me, it's a critical point. If you're using your videos just for your classroom, you don't have to worry about this as much. All right, next is the storyboard, and this is the core of everything. We would call this the map to success. And the reason for this is, if you do not know where you are going with your lesson, you will never ever get there. And if you do get there, it will take a lot of extra time. So with the storyboard, it's important to remember these things. The first thing you want to do is draw it out. Plan what you want to show the students. This is a really good time to create your examples that you want to give them, to tell the story behind your lesson. It's just a really great way to plan everything out so you know what you're working with. It's also a good time that you can look at it and say, okay, how can I make this more funny? How can I emphasize this point? What animations can I use? Do I need to change my music? All of this stuff. And the final step of that in the storyboard is to identify obstacles. And this is why the storyboard process is so important. If you take the time, whether it's 30 minutes or 5 minutes, just to create a map of what you want to do, you can often find problems before they hit you. Whether it's having the right resources, having the right images, can the software do what I want it to do? Do I need to edit a sound in the background? Anything like this, you can spot these problems before they become an issue. With that, we can get creating. And now this is the most interesting part of the whole process. You actually open up the software and start sliding images into the canvas and really start working. This is the most enjoyable part for me, of course, but it's important that you start by setting goals. You can quickly find yourself overwhelmed, especially if it's a 10-15 minute long video. It's going to take a few hours to get it complete. So it's really good to set yourself some goals, what parts you want to get done in a certain time frame. And the next thing you need to remember is to focus on the plan. So if you've looked at your lesson plan stage and your storyboard stage, you already have the blueprints to create something awesome. And you just want to make sure you frequently check back in on that plan and keep yourself on track. Taking breaks is fundamental. Make sure to give yourself a pause while you're working with the software, whether it's just save it and go do something else for 5-10 minutes. Personally, what I do is go off and either read a comic book or something like that, something entertaining, which keeps my creativity high, but also just gives me a pause from work. The next step is share with your network. This one gets overlooked a lot, but I find this really helpful when I'm in the creative process. I can take a quick snapshot of what I'm working on, 10 seconds of animation, share it with my friends, share it with some of my students, and say, hey, this is the one I'm working on today. What do you think? Do you like this? And it's a really great way just to keep yourself kind of going, because most of the students will get back to you and say, oh, that's really great. I like that. Then they know a video is coming, and also it gives them an opportunity to give you some feedback. Lastly is have fun. And this is the most critical of all of them. If you are not having fun doing what you're doing, your students are not going to have fun watching it. It's just a fact. You need to approach it with a positive attitude. You need to have some fun doing it, because that's going to come through in the final product. And if you had fun making it, certainly the students will have fun watching it. At that point, it's just the final touches. So you want to add your touch-ups, and you want to check everything a few times. I've written 2, 3, 4 times. You just want to make sure everything is finalized and it looks perfect before you go ahead and publish it. Last topic, and this is the tips and the tricks. I've gathered a few of these over time, and these are basically the big ones. But if anybody has any other questions, feel free to ask me at the end, and I'm happy to help. First thing is save everything. A few things that you need to keep saved. First of all is any images you use. So anytime you bring an element into the software, there's a good chance that you're going to reuse it. So you want to make sure you save each image that you use, so that if you ever need it again, you know you have it. The next one that's a good idea to save are sequences. So occasionally I will create a small scribe. It takes some time to animate it. It takes some time for the transitions. I get it looking perfect. And then a week later, I want to repeat that. And if I save that sequence somewhere, then it's just a matter of copy and pasting that sequence into the new video, and it saves me hours, because the 30 minutes I spent working it on the first time, I only need 2 minutes to get it in the next time. This leads into templates. So it's really great to save templates of certain scribes. So this way you can just delete images, pop in new images, edit the text, and you have a new video ready to go in a lot shorter time. Sound effects, so any audio work you do, audio can be really tricky with certain software. So any success you have, it's great to save that somewhere, and that way it can be reused. And last and not least, your final products. So your final videos, when they're complete, make sure you have those saved somewhere as well. You never know when they'll come in handy, and it's definitely better than going in and reanimating something and starting from scratch. Use a repeating canvas size. This basically, when you use the software, it's a really good idea to keep a standard size. For me, all of my videos are done in the 100% zoom, and I work from that zoom level. The reason for this is if I decide to cut something from one project and bring it into another project, I don't have to spend a lot of time shrinking or enlarging things or zooming in. Everything is kind of ready to go, which saves me a lot of time. All right, the next tip, add humor. Now this is,
Sorry, Steve, just to jump in, I'm just conscious of time because we've got a couple of minutes left, and I've seen there's a couple of questions coming through. I know like your tips are so good, so we don't want to eat into that, but I'm just wondering whether we speed through them a little bit so we can get onto a couple of questions before the end, if that's okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
All right, so humor is critical. For me, basically this comes down to creating characters, linking humor between your videos, and finally, listen to your audience. So doing these main things, we will bring a lot of humor into your videos. Use additional software. So the software I use, they're all free. And they really help. The first one being Inkscape. This is great for creating graphics that are automatically ready for VideoScribe. The next one would be Audacity, a great sound editing software, also free. The next one is Shotcut. This is what I use for editing a final video if I have to combine videos together, and Canva. So this is really great for creating thumbnails and other resources. And of course, there's plenty of online tools available. It's just a matter of looking out there and seeing what's freely available that can save you a lot of time. All right. Last step is if you don't know, ask. If you can't find something, you want to know how to do something, ask questions. So there's lots of resources. You can ask other creators. You can even ask your audience. I've gotten a lot of feedback over time from students, and often they offer to help with something. So it's really great to have that resource to lean on. And of course, there are plenty of tutorials available on YouTube, etc. With that, we are ready for questions.
Perfect. Thank you, Steve. I think those are really helpful tips, hopefully for everyone who's joined us. We will just take a couple of questions now, I think, before we wrap up. So we've had a couple from John, who's asked, as you're teaching English, do you add spoken English to your videos? And also, how long do your videos tend to be?
For certain videos, I will do a voiceover. It really depends on the actual lesson. During a class, I will play parts of the video and then I'll be pausing and narrating in between it. So I try to keep narrating out of the videos. Depending on the topic, I try to keep everything under the 10-minute mark. Anything longer than that is a more involved lesson. So I typically keep them anywhere between 5 and 10 minutes, with longer ones being about 15 minutes.
Perfect. I know you've kind of hinted at this earlier, but we've had a question from Marcia asking, how much time do you invest in one video? So like the one we saw at the beginning, how long did that take you roughly?
Well, this is kind of key to the whole process. That specific video took 2.5 hours to make. And this is because I had all of the resources saved. I had a template saved. It was just a lot of copy and pasting to put it together. So it really depends. With each video you make, they're going to become faster and faster. But yeah, I think that one was about 2.5 hours, not accounting for breaks and things like that.
Nice. Well, I can see we've had a couple of other questions, but as we are now just past 3, I think we will pause there because I know some other people might need to get on to your other calls. But thank you so much to Steve for sharing your insights and your process with us. I think it's really nice to see such an easy kind of flow that is super repeatable, whether you are back to teaching in a classroom or still teaching online like Steve. So hopefully you found it really valuable, and we've added Steve's email address on the screen, so if you've got any specific extra questions for him, then feel free to reach out. The same with us just at marketing@sparkle.com if there's anything specifically about VideoScribe. But yeah, as I said, we will send the recording out afterwards, and any questions we haven't got to live, we will pick up offline. But thank you for joining us. A massive thank you again to Steve for sharing your process with us. We hope we'll see you again on another webinar soon. Have a great rest of your day. Bye.
Thank you. Okay, bye.